Elon Musk buys Twitter. We're going to dive into how he did it, why did he do such a thing, what changes can we expect to see with him owning Twitter, and what can we learn from it. If I was Elon and had his type of money and had his influence, I would do the same damn thing. So, how did he go about doing this? There's a couple things you need to realize about Elon Musk. First, he thinks very differently than a lot of us do. And so going into this, you got to get into his mindset about certain things. And if you look at his past history and the influences that he's made across his business life, it's not strange to me that he's pursuing this. First of all, he's got over 83 million followers on the app himself. So he is a consistent user of it. Yes, he has been censored by them. Can you believe that? Twitter censored him, just like they didn't completely ban him like they've done some others, like Trump. Let's just say, yep, all you Trump lovers out there, you're going to be a Twitter hater maybe, and maybe you're happy right now. We're going to look into that as well. But with those 83 million followers, guess what he decided to do? He began purchasing shares of Twitter back in January. He got up to the point where he had 9% ownership into the company. Now, as a consistent user over a long period of time and growing his followership and growing his influence, we know that he's been able to influence several things, especially in the cryptocurrency space and other things. You just think about it for a moment. You think where the automotive industry is heading right now. You know, he started Tesla, the first battery run vehicle, and most every major name brand in the automotive industry right now are building their own electric vehicles, and we're looking at the majority of them going to fully electric by 2027. And most of the companies are going that way. The governments get them to go that way. Well, you're wondering, well, what in the world does that have to do with Twitter and his purchase of that? Think about his influence, what influence he has made in the automotive industry. What influence has he made into the space industry? Right now, he's the richest man in the world. That means he knocked Jeff Bezos off his pedestal, and he's one of his major competitors as far as the space race is concerned. Maybe you could say he's one of his major competitors as far as being the richest man, richest person in the world. And if you go look in the news and look on online, you'll see that Bezos hasn't had a lot of positive things to say about him purchasing Twitter, but that's okay. Bezos can own Washington Post. What's wrong with Elon Musk owning Twitter? When you start thinking about it like that, it begins to make you question certain things. You think about other wealthy people out there. Let's bring up two others. You think about Bill Gates. Bill Gates, in his history through his foundation, has donated over his $319 million to certain media organizations. Right? He doesn't specifically own one. Now, Microsoft, which he owns only 2% of right now, has 2% of their shares, owns LinkedIn and Skype. Okay, but Gates, through his foundation, has donated money to certain media venues out there. What influence does he have on that? What does that mean for his business? What does that mean for his brand? When you go think about this purchase for Elon Musk and Twitter, what does that mean about his influence? What does that mean about for him to brand himself? Okay, so gives us a lot of questions to be asking, but let's get back into the how. You know, he took 20 billion of his own money, cash, to make this investment. he offered to purchase Twitter at around $54.20 a share, which they really couldn't pass up. They were looking for other people. They would rather somebody else purchase it. Let's just say that when you research, look in the news. So there's a lot going on related to this. Well, he also had to get investors. Yeah, he went out to certain banks to join him and borrow money. He borrowed money off of Tesla stock as well to make this purchase. So there's some other players involved with this, but this is his investment. This is going to be his company. And what does that mean moving ahead? That's the how. Let's think about the why. Why did he do this? Hey, thanks for watching today. Please do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. So why is Elon buying Twitter? Some people say maybe it's all about freedom of speech. That's one of the issues that's being bounced around all over the media. And honestly, it's an issue that some people are really afraid of. They're afraid that he will control freedom of speech. It's quite interesting that they're afraid of that when most of your social media platforms that you're using out there and most of your other media venues that you get your news and information from normally have a chief censorship officer. So I want you to think about that. Yeah, through my research, I discovered that the present chief censorship officer at Twitter will probably lose his job. And he's making over $13 million a year to decide if you get to say what you want to say on Twitter. And some people say it's out of control as far as Twitter is concerned. But, they canceled President Donald Trump. They get to decide who. They've censored some of Elon's own messages on Twitter at times as well and brought them down off the site. So maybe he wants to have, as a entrepreneur, businessman, he talks about freedom of speech, and when he talks about it, he has a definition he uses, and I'm just going to quote it to you. And this came off of a TEDx interview that he was doing, and he said, "By freedom of speech, I simply mean that which matches the law. I'm against censorship that goes far beyond the law. If people want less free speech, they will ask government to pass laws to that effect. Therefore, going beyond the law is contrary to the will of the people." Now, one of the things that Elon talks about is he doesn't mind having critics. He doesn't mind that people think differently, believe differently than he does. He doesn't have a problem with that. Now, the people that have the biggest problem with his version of free speech are the people that are on the extremes. It doesn't matter if you're extreme left or if you're extreme right. You start reading the stuff out there on the web and other news venues, those really and truly are the people that have the biggest problems, the biggest issues with him owning Twitter and having some control of what they consider freedom of speech or censorship. Maybe what you're going to really have is more freedom of speech. Maybe he just believes that we're intelligent enough to figure it out ourselves and to determine, is this correct information or not? Well, then you got to be able to willing to do your research. You always got to keep in mind that when thinking about Elon, thinks a lot differently. He's not afraid to think outside, way outside the box, and think of new ideas. So, who knows? Maybe Twitter will become a communication system between the Earth and Mars. I'm just guessing. I'm just saying that. Okay, it'd be a little funny there. Might not. Nothing out there saying that. But freedom of speech. He will have some say in what's said on this platform. Well, you let Mark Zuckerberg choose that on Facebook. You look at the other media venues out there that you're using on social media, You got to be careful what you say and how you say it. And people are afraid, oh, what if I say something too honest about my thoughts about certain things? And we all know that if you look out there, there's no consistency across any platform, because the platform themselves choose based on their beliefs and thoughts what they believe is free speech and okay for you to hear and listen to, and what you shouldn't hear and listen to, because they don't think you're intelligent enough to figure it out yourself. That's just my thoughts. So, okay. So, one why is freedom of speech. We've done a lot of talking about the how, and we've done some talking about the why as far as freedom of speech is concerned. And one of the things you need to think about with Elon as well is he don't care if you criticize him. So it's not going to bother him to have criticism and you to express your thoughts and your opinions. And so when it comes to freedom of speech, he's pretty lenient there, and it's not going to upset him. So if you disagree with him, he's okay with that. But a lot of people are not on social media, and we can find all kind of hate. And honestly, hate is kind of a good thing sometimes with social media, because it grows your following as well. Because that's part of the algorithm sometimes, is because you get those comments, and it just helps. But we think about the business potential. Elon's a businessman. He's got an economics degree. He's also got a physics degree. He's successfully running 2 major businesses right now with Tesla and SpaceX, and making quite headways with both. I mean, hey, he's made tons of money. So he's really super smart when it comes to business. His brother even says that about him. But he sees the business potential with it just depends on where you read how many millions of active users there are on Twitter, but it falls anywhere between plus to 200 million up to over 400 million, just based on the research and where you read from. But with that usership, that's a lot of people to draw from. Even if you go on the lower side of it and just say it's around the 200 million mark. Now, when Twitter compares to other social media apps and businesses out there, I think it falls in the world ranking somewhere around, it's not even in the top 10, it's in the top 20 based on where you read as well, where it falls as far as that is concerned. But he sees it with a lot of business potential. If you had 200 million users and you could create a subscription based, which he's considering. By the way, Twitter does have a subscription offer. I think it's called Blue, and it's like about $3 a month right now. And you get a few extra features. There's some kind of little edit button thing that they have that you get with it, and something else. I can't remember what it is right now, but honestly, for $3, why bother? But that's my mindset about things like that. I don't even pay for Spotify. I still use the free version, but I'm cheap when it comes to stuff like that. But he sees a lot of potential. He's actually compared that potential with Spotify and going to a subscription base. And that would create a lot of income coming in through that company if he went that route. He also realizes that the majority of the users of the social media of Twitter, they are political figures, business leaders, you got entertainers, you got activists, you've got intellectuals out there that are the main users of the platform. And he sees that he could leverage that and those people to create a booming, hopefully a booming type business, because he's like any businessman. He wants to make money. I mean, that's what it is. It's going to be a money-making venue eventually. So he can see through that it provides a lot of influence into different policies. It influences media. it influences finances, influences technology, and he's also looking at ways of how he can use it to become a monetization platform at the same time. So think about that. If it becomes a subscription base and you subscribe to it, and maybe you can also monetize your content that you're creating in there. It does make money off of advertisements, makes a pretty good bit of money. I have to get those, but and it's going to go that route as well. But he sees a great business purpose for it that he can use to grow his brand. But the other reason why could be that he wants to just grow his personal brand. What if it's that? With 83 million followers at present on Twitter, and using that platform to grow his brand. If the competition continues like it is in the automotive industry and they continue to go to more battery operated vehicles across the automotive industry, what does that mean for his business with Tesla to have control and ownership of Twitter? And when I say control, he's going to make it a privately held company. It's going to be his company. He's not going to have shareholders to answer to. Yeah, does he have federal regulations and all that kind of jazz to answer to as far as things on social media? Yes, he does. But if you were a businessman and you're competing against major brands and you have your own social media platform and you can advertise and promote your other businesses through that, what does that mean for you, for those other businesses that you have? Think about that for a moment. Maybe that's why he's doing this. Or, he really is into that freedom of speech thing, and he just wants to make the world a better place so you and I can speak our mind and have a safe place to do that. Maybe that's it. So maybe it is all about Elon growing his brand image, and growing his other business. That's why he's purchased Twitter. You think about having a platform like this to grow your other business ventures that you have. If you're a business person out there, you have access to the money and investments that he has, and you know that your competition in other industries, whether it's in the space industry, whether it's in the automotive industry, and you know that, wow, in a couple of years, about 5 years from now, everybody's going to have to go to battery operated vehicles. Supposedly, that's what they're pushing for in the automotive industry, right? By 2027, you're seeing all your major competitors, they're working hard to get caught up to where you're at, right? And now you got to compete against them. Before you didn't have to. Now you got to. What does that mean? How can you use your own social media platform to grow your brand image and promote your other businesses that you have? If you had the access to that kind of cash and you had that kind of influence where you had 83 million people following you, and then you have your own platform that you are in control of, nobody else is in control. Yeah, you have to answer to the federal government and the government about certain things. Yes, I understand that. But you're privately held. You don't have stockholders you have to appease and make happy, and you control it. And yet you're competing against other major brands as they get into the battery operated vehicles and move in that way. What would you do? Would you buy a social media platform to help promote your other businesses and grow your brand image? So we looked at several things about Elon Musk buying Twitter. We looked at a lot about how he did it, how he leveraged his own personal finances, how he took a loan against Twitter, and how he got a loan from Morgan Chase to help make this purchase happen. We've talked some about the why being freedom of speech. Maybe it's for business purposes. He just sees the business sense behind it, makes logical move for him. The other could be that maybe it's just all about growing his brand image and getting ready for other things as he sees that are about to happen. Okay, so those are some of the whys. Now, what changes are going to be in place now that he purchases Twitter? And some of those changes are going to be really good for the end user. He sees a lot of potential here, and we talked some about that potential in the business why, but we've talked about the freedom of speech part. And one of the things that he is going to change about the platform, he is going to tweak the content modification. And I've already shared a good bit about what he thinks about as far as freedom of speech is concerned. Now, one of the things you got to keep in mind that when he thinks about tweaking this, he has actually used the idea that he is going to be very reluctant to delete and ban things and people. He's going to be very cautious about that. But he does believe more in like a timeout. So you adults out there that can't behave, they just might put you in timeout for a little while. I don't know how long it will be, but just imagine, okay? Let's use President Trump for an example. He got banned completely from the platform. By the way, he said he's probably not going to come back to the platform anyway, even if Elon buys it. He's also has his own social media platform that he's went out and started and purchased. And by the way, if you go do your research on him as well, he owns several media platforms and has lots of investments in that realm himself personally as well. So, but in the future, supposedly there are going to be less bans and less being your stuff deleted, more of you being put in timeout. So those of you that can't control yourself, you adults out there, can't watch your mouth, watch your language, watch what you believe and think, and they don't like it, they're just going to put you in timeout. Okay, so that's one change. So those people that are overly concerned about free speech, and those people either far right or far left, wherever they're at, you probably be put in timeout a couple of times, maybe later on if you continue to use Twitter, right? He's also going to do a lot about spam bots, okay? And that's because it has impacted him personally. His account has been hacked, and his account has been used to promote certain cryptocurrency spams that he didn't particularly like himself, and that is one focus that he's going to focus on, is to try to create a safer environment where there's less spam and less manipulation of cryptocurrency through spam bots. So he's going to put an end to that. He's going to delete that and take care of that completely. So he's really passionate about that one, which makes sense. He's had a lot of influence as far as cryptocurrency is concerned. He's going to also install an edit button that we all have access to. At this point in time, it is only available to those who pay for that blue subscription. It's around $3 a month, and he's just going to make that available for everyone, which in my opinion makes logical sense, because if you're using Facebook or Instagram or other, you can go and delete your stuff if you want to, if you don't like the post, if you need to change it, if you're drunk and you make a stupid mistake or say something you don't like and then you need to go back and change it, you can go do that. So that makes logical sense. Should have been there before now, but hey, finally you got somebody that's got some logical sense to them. They're going to make some changes that we would all love to see. The next most important thing that I see that's going to be the biggest impact for people is that he is going to open up the algorithm. He's going to make it more open source, more publicly available. And those of you who are out there trying to leverage social media to grow your brand and grow your business, you're going to love that, because if you're like me and you're out there on Facebook or you're on Instagram or you're on YouTube and you're trying to figure out the algorithm and how to grow your brand and grow your image and grow your business, well, he's going to make that more open source, so you're not making it a guessing game and trying to figure out what hashtags to use, what are the keywords you need to be using. that you'll have better access to that information and will help you grow your brand image and grow your business. That alone would make me want to jump to being more of an active user on that platform. As a business person growing my brand and growing my coaching business, I would be more willing to pay a subscription. I'd be more willing to pay to use advertising if I have a better understanding of the algorithm, is more available to me, it's more public, it's more open source, than me trying to guess and trying to figure out and spend tons of money and time trying to figure out how to do that on other platforms. So those of you that are really trying to leverage social media for your brand and your image and your business, if this really happens, which I hope it does, I would say we're going to have to start using Twitter a lot more. Or at least I'll make it more of a priority for me and my business. How about you? Now, what can we learn from Elon in this process of purchasing Twitter? First of all, he bought something he knew. He has been a user of the platform for quite some time. He understands the algorithms and some of the workings of it. He has a major following on the platform, and he definitely sees ton of potential. So he's able to analyze what they're presently doing and see where they're lacking compared to other social media platforms out there as well. So he's taken all that information in, but he is an active user of the platform. He went and bought something that he believed in, uses, he sees the potential of it. On top of that, he was able to leverage, yes, he didn't take and use all of his money. He did put a major cash investment into it, but he also took other financial resources, made loans, got a bank loan, took a loan against Tesla stock as well at the same time to make this investment. So he had personal resources, but he also got other resources out there as well. The thing you got to keep in mind about that is another thing you can take away as a business leader, as a owner, that he has maintained control, complete control of this. Okay, he is going to be a publicly held company. He is going to be in the driver's seat. He's not giving that over to someone else. It's already been stated out there that he's already saying that the chief censorship officer is out the door. Okay, the CEO that's on right now is scared to death he's going to lose his job. Half the people are mad as hell that he's actually buying the company. So maybe he'll lose a lot of people, which right now is not a bad thing. Okay, because there are tons of people out there looking for jobs and ready to go somewhere else, and it's a wide open door of opportunity. So you're looking for a job out there, maybe Twitter's the next place you go to and go work, and you go work for Elon. Maybe that's what. But he has maintained complete control of the organization. And anybody that is super smart in business, the more control you have, the better off you are. You get the say. You get the major say. You get the direction. Okay? But at the same time, he hasn't forgotten about the fact that if he takes complete control, he has complete ownership and is responsible for what happens, right? And he's not playing that off in any way, shape, or form. He has said himself that he expects that he is going to make mistakes. And he's already saying that he has taken 100% ownership of any mistakes that are made in the process. Okay? And if you look at what he has done in previous businesses, that it's not without knowing that he's made mistakes along the way. He's been very successful, but he wouldn't be as successful as he is if he wasn't afraid to make a mistake. So think about that.
if you're a business leader out there, or if you're trying to lead an organization somewhere, you can expect that you're going to make mistakes, and go ahead and own up to it and take ownership of it. And he's already saying that. He's made that in an interview there again at a TEDx conference somewhere. He stated that he expects that he's going to make mistakes, and he's already saying he's going to take full 100% ownership and responsibility for that. So if you really want to learn something from this, what is it that next move you're going to make in your career, in your business, in your life? You're going to make an investment somewhere. What do you know about it? Are you an actual user of it? Have you studied it? Do you understand that business enough to make a smart investment, a smart decision for yourself? Do you see the possible potential? Potential for yourself, potential for others. Is it something that you're passionate about? He's passionate about freedom of speech, it sounds like. So he's letting that passion guide him through that. He feels like there needs to be some changes in that way. So maybe that's where you're at, and you need to let that guide you as well in that next venture, that next step you need to take. All right. Maybe you got to go out there and you got to leverage your own money, and you got to find other people that are willing to loan you some money so that you maintain full control. You're not asking them to come be your partner. You're asking for a loan, and you're going to pay that back to them at some time. And maybe you have some major investments out there somewhere that you can take a loan against, and you make this step and take this risk, but it's a calculated risk. And I imagine he's going to mitigate some of it, but he's also said at the end of the day, he's going to take ownership of it. So if you're out there and you're wanting to jump into a business somewhere, make sure you can have 100% control and take 100% ownership. Hey, I'm Miles Reed. I'm an international leadership coach, and I help international leaders who have been experiencing winning moments in the past, but right now they realize that they need a new game plan so that they can continue to dominate in the industry and life. And I hope this episode has been a benefit to you, and you've taken away some things that will help you as you move forward in your business and in your life. One of the best things that you can do from this, as you've learned, is take complete control. Take complete control of as much of your business and work as possible, your career, your life, and from that also take 100% responsibility for where you're at today and where you're going in the future. If you can do that, you're going to see greater success in your life and in your business as well. And I hope you enjoyed this episode, and you'll check out some of the others I have posted up here as well, and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you again.